Right now, your phone has been designed by teams of behavioral scientists, neuroscientists, and psychologists whose professional objective is to maximize the time you spend inside specific applications. This is not a conspiracy theory. It is the stated purpose of entire departments at major technology companies. The variable reward system they use was developed in a psychology laboratory in the 1950s. The lab's subject was a pigeon. The results were so effective, the tech industry spent billions implementing them on humans. The man who inadvertently created the blueprint for app addiction was B.F. Skinner, the behavioral psychologist who spent the mid-20th century studying how reinforcement shapes behavior. His most relevant discovery for our purposes: variable ratio reinforcement schedules. When an animal or a person receives a reward on an unpredictable schedule, the behavior that produces the reward becomes extraordinarily resistant to extinction. More resistant than any fixed reward schedule. Unpredictability isn't a bug. It's the feature. Consider the slot machine. You pull the lever. Sometimes you win. Sometimes you don't. The unpredictability is precisely what makes you keep pulling. Slot machines are the most profitable gambling device ever created, not because they pay out the most, they pay out the least, but because the variable reward schedule they use is the most psychologically compelling reinforcement pattern ever documented. Instagram's like counter uses the same schedule. So does the pull to refresh gesture on Twitter. Asa Raskin, who invented infinite scroll while working at Mozilla, has since become one of its most prominent critics. He estimates that infinite scroll costs humanity about 200,000 additional hours of screen time every day. His original intent was to make browsing smoother. What he created was the removal of a natural stopping point, the moment when you'd reach the bottom of a page and have to make an active decision to load more. Without that pause, the default becomes endless consumption. Before infinite scroll, websites had pages. You'd finish page 1, and reaching page 2 required a click. That click was friction. Friction creates decision points. Decision points create opportunities to stop. Removing friction isn't neutral, it's an intervention in your behavioral chain that systematically biases you toward continuation. Every design choice that eliminates friction is a design choice that extracts more of your time and attention without your conscious participation. Notifications are another masterwork of behavioral manipulation. Each notification creates what psychologists call an attentional interrupt. Your brain's threat detection system fires briefly, drawing your focus away from whatever you were doing. This system evolved to keep us alive on the savannah. A sudden sound or movement triggered attention because it might be a predator. Your phone has hijacked this ancient alarm system to redirect your attention to advertisement-supported content approximately 80 times per day. The timing of notifications is not random. Research from the Center for Humane Technology, founded by former Google design ethicist Tristan Harris, found that notification timing is deliberately optimized to arrive at moments when you're most likely to re-engage with the app for an extended session. They arrive when you first wake up, before your prefrontal cortex is fully online. They arrive in the evening, when decision fatigue has depleted your resistance. The timing is engineered. The red notification badge is specifically red for a reason. Red is associated with urgency and threat across cultures. It commands attention in a way that other colors do not. When designers at Facebook A/B tested notification badge colors, red produced the highest engagement. Not because users consciously preferred it. Because their brains couldn't ignore it. The color choice is a neurological exploit embedded in your phone's visual interface. Social validation is perhaps the most potent mechanism. Humans evolved in small social groups where social standing directly affected survival, access to food, mates, and protection. The like button activates the same neurological evaluation system our ancestors used to assess tribal acceptance. A 2016 study published in the journal Neuron found that seeing your photos receive more likes activates the nucleus accumbens, the same reward region implicated in drug and gambling addiction. This is why the anxiety of posting something and watching the likes accrue or not accrue produces genuine physiological stress. Your nervous system is not being dramatic. It is running ancient social survival software on a modern digital platform. The platform's designers understood this. The anxiety is not a side effect. It is the mechanism that keeps you returning to check, to post, to optimize your social performance for algorithmic distribution. The term dark pattern was coined by UX designer Harry Brignall in 2010. It refers to interface design choices specifically intended to trick users into taking actions they didn't intend. The most common examples: default opt-in subscription renewals hidden in a wall of text, cancellation flows requiring 8 steps when sign-up required 1, misdirection that places confirm purchase and cancel in non-standard visual locations. These aren't mistakes. They're revenue strategies. The European Union's Digital Services Act and related legislation has begun targeting dark patterns directly. Studies cited in EU regulatory proceedings found that certain dark patterns increased unintended purchases by up to 40%. When researchers presented users with clean, transparent interfaces against dark pattern versions of the same services, users consistently chose the transparent versions, but only when given a side-by-side comparison. In the wild, most users never encounter that comparison. Autoplay is perhaps the simplest and most effective dark pattern ever deployed. Netflix's decision to automatically play the next episode exploits what behavioral economists call default bias, the human tendency to accept whatever option requires the least action. Stopping requires a decision. Continuing requires nothing. Research on Netflix viewing patterns found that autoplay increased total viewing time by approximately 30%. Every major streaming service adopted it within years. Former Google engineer Guillaume Chaslot spent time inside YouTube's recommendation algorithm before becoming a prominent critic. He describes the algorithm's objective function as clear: maximize watch time. This objective has no term for accuracy, for well-being, for the user's stated preferences, or for truthfulness. An outrage-inducing video keeps people watching longer than a calm, accurate one. The algorithm therefore systematically amplifies content designed to provoke emotional reaction, regardless of its accuracy. The attention economy, a term coined by psychologist and Nobel laureate Herbert Simon in 1971, describes a system where human attention is the scarce resource being harvested and sold. Every second your eyes are on an app screen is a second that can be monetized through advertising. The more seconds extracted, the more revenue generated. This creates a fundamental conflict of interest. The product that appears to serve you is optimized to extract from you. Your time is the raw material. Your attention is the inventory. Snapchat's streak feature is a textbook example of what game designers call artificial scarcity combined with loss aversion. Behavioral economics research by Amos Tversky and Daniel Kahneman established that humans experience losses roughly twice as intensely as equivalent gains. A Snapchat streak you've maintained for 200 days is psychologically powerful not because of what you gain by keeping it, but because of what you lose if you break it. The streak has no intrinsic value. Its psychological power is entirely manufactured. Many of the people who built these systems have since expressed profound regret. Sean Parker, the founding president of Facebook, stated publicly in 2017 that the platform was designed to consume as much of your time and conscious attention as possible by exploiting a vulnerability in human psychology. He added, "God only knows what it's doing to our children's brains." He said this on camera. Facebook's stock price did not drop. The impact on adolescent mental health has generated substantial peer-reviewed concern. A 2019 study in JAMA Pediatrics found significant correlations between social media use and depression and anxiety in adolescents, with stronger effects for girls than boys. Researcher Jean Tweng's longitudinal data tracking teenage well-being against smartphone adoption shows a notable inflection point beginning around 2012, the year smartphone penetration crossed 50% in the United States. The industry's response to these findings has largely followed a specific pattern. First, fund research that complicates the narrative. Second, emphasize user choice and personal responsibility. Third, introduce minor, voluntary wellness features, screen time trackers, usage reports that are psychologically designed to feel sufficient while being demonstrably ineffective. Fourth, lobby against regulation. These are not responses to a discovered problem. They are reputation management strategies. What can you actually do? The research suggests that passive scrolling is significantly more damaging than active, goal-directed use of the same platforms. Going to Instagram to message a specific friend and then leaving produces far less of the anxiety spiral than opening Instagram with no specific purpose. Intentionality is the variable. The platforms are designed to eliminate intentionality by making continuous scrolling the path of least resistance. Restoring friction is the countermeasure. Turning off non-essential notifications is the single most evidence-supported behavioral intervention. A 2019 study from University of Texas found that simply silencing phone notifications for 1 week reduced anxiety scores significantly without reducing the usefulness of the phone. You lose nothing of substance. The notifications exist to pull you into the app, not to serve your actual needs. Most of what they announce can wait. Your attention system cannot be replenished while it's under constant interruption. Understanding that these systems are designed by behavioral scientists whose professional objective is to maximize your engagement changes the nature of your interaction with them. You are not having a casual relationship with an app. You are in a carefully engineered behavioral loop designed by some of the most skilled applied psychologists in the world. Approaching that loop as a naive consumer is bringing a cognitive bias to a psychological knife fight. Tristan Harris describes the current situation as an asymmetric competition, a handful of billion-dollar teams of behavioral scientists competing for your attention against your individual, unassisted willpower. Willpower, as research consistently shows, is a depletable resource. Teams of behavioral scientists are not. The only symmetry-restoring move available to users is knowledge, understanding what's being done, how it's being done, and what your brain is actually responding to. The game is already in progress. The question is whether you're playing it or being played.